Hi everyone and welcome back to this channel on narcissism, narcissistic relationships, and healing from narcissistic relationships, as well as the myriad questions that come up. Today's question is, what does narcissistic collapse look like? And this is actually a really good question, and I think an important one to answer. Because sometimes people who are going through a breakup or a separation or even just a fight with a narcissistic person wonder, so what does it look like? It's uncomfortable to witness because many times the narcissistic collapse coincides with a kind of confession or a kind of truth-telling from the narcissistic person, where they will admit to things that they've done, or maybe even things they've thought but have been hiding. And this is often done in the context of a love bombing situation or a love bombing episode where they're trying to win you back after a breakup or reconciliation or something like that. And they may open up in a way that is very manipulative, but still they're admitting to things they normally wouldn't admit to. Well, it looks like a person who is normally very put together suddenly seeming to fall apart, to become disheveled, maybe even to stop bathing, or basic hygiene goes out the window. If it's happening to you, it can seem very dramatic and very overwhelming. The narcissistic person may become paranoid and start accusing others of things. They may become rageful and lash out in anger. They may become very manipulative and beg and plead and do things they wouldn't normally do in order to get supply. And it's really uncomfortable to witness. Are they having a psychotic break? Is this real? Is this what it looks like when somebody has gone over to the dark side? And the reality is there is a difference between a narcissistic collapse and a psychotic break. It's not quite the same thing, although there can be some overlap. So let's break it down. First of all, what is a narcissistic collapse? A narcissistic collapse happens when the illusion of the grandiose self that a person has constructed over time, that fragile illusion, it gets punctured. And the narcissistic person feels exposed, and then they get overwhelmed and they decompensate. Now this can happen during a long-term relationship with a narcissistic person when the relationship ends. It can also happen in a relatively short-term relationship when it ends. It can happen when someone calls them out on their bullshit and they feel exposed, or when they feel like the world is no longer giving them the narcissistic supply they feel they deserve. All of that can lead to a narcissistic collapse. A narcissistic collapse can also happen when a narcissistic person loses status, power, or money, any of those things that feed their ego. And why is it uncomfortable to witness? Again, a narcissistic collapse isn't necessarily psychotic, but it can certainly seem like it, especially if you're on the receiving end of it. So I hope that helps. Thanks again.